Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, the Wordsmith, and we're here today with a very special guest. He's not on the call just yet, but he will be momentarily. That's going to be Brother Clinton Eugene Curtis. He is, well, I don't want to say too much because I love to just get into it. But he is an attorney as well as a computer programmer, and he was involved in some very interesting circumstances regarding the election process. Not all that long ago, just a few elections ago. And he's going to tell us his story today because it's so important. You know, the reason why I'm bringing him on is because, especially with everything going on right now, with the Trump administration, with the election process, and things that have happened over the last several elections that have been curious and questionable. And I think it's time that we really start to make a dent in perception here and start to understand what's really going on. So this is just another block or building block in my attempt to show you the picture, the full picture, the scope of what's happening. So let's see if he, let me give a call, see if he got the email.
Let me hang up here so we don't get our double.
There we go, yeah. Bye.
Mute, you can hear me.
Okay, I've got audio.
You can see me.
There he is.
What it's worth.
Hey, Clint, how you doing, man?
I am good. How are you doing?
Oh, doing great, doing great. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you very much for joining today.
I don't have nearly as entertaining a background as you do, though.
Yeah, it's funny with these. I don't know how these things work. I did this once with this background, and the last several times I've done Zoom, it wasn't there, and now all of a sudden it's there.
Okay. Well, Zoom's special in its own special way. So
yes. Yes. Perfect. Okay, yeah, a lot of, okay, there we go. All right. Okay, good. You got it in a good spot? Camera's in a good spot?
I think so.
Okay, good to go.
I wiggle a lot, you know.
All right. Okay, so, well, I'm working with interior lighting today. Usually, I have a skylight right here that brings in great natural lighting, but it's currently covered by snow.
Luckily not here.
Yeah, we did. I think we're probably at about over a foot by now. I think.
You're New York, right?
Yeah, we got a pretty good amount. I was out there last night doing some early sledding before the hill is overrun by people.
Are you dreaming of a white Christmas? Because you got one.
I was, yeah, I am, and it was so nice too. And I don't know if do you meditate at all from time to time? Is that something you've ever? Okay, so yeah, I just did a little did a little meditating out in the ice snow last night. It was very nice, very nice.
Freeze to death if you're not careful.
No, yeah. Well, have you ever heard of Wim Hof? Have you ever checked out Wim Hof? He's also known as the Iceman. So, have you ever heard of the Polar Bear Club?
I have. They are crazy people that go jump in freezing water.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And then when they get out, they're really cold and they run.
They do. I've done that with them a couple of times now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The interesting thing is the guy who started it, I want to say his first name was Steve. I can't remember his first name. Last name was McFadden. And McFadden is actually known as like the grandfather of the modern health movement in terms of both diet and physical activity. One of which he said this, jumping in the ice cold water, that shock to the body is actually very healthy for you, even though it is a shock, but it primes the immune system.
Really?
Yeah. So it's quite interesting when you get into the science of it all. Essentially, so like if you do the back and forth hot cold, It's working out the lymphatic system because you're forcing vasoconstriction, then vasodilation. And so it's pumping the lymphatic system. It's literally a workout for your immune system.
Well, it's good for cardio too, because when they get out of the water, they run. So then they're getting that exercise.
That's right. That's right. They get the exercise too.
I don't know why they're standing around. They should just stand around and go, well, we like the cold. We'll just stand here a while. But you never see that. It's like, okay,
time to go. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Well, so
Since you've actually done it with, does anyone ever stand there once they get out of the water? Does anyone ever stand there once they get out of the water with it?
So
you see more than the video clip, so
I do. I mean, I try to really, get as much out of it as possible, I'll say. I stay in the water longer. I might come out for a minute or two and then go back in for another 5-6 minutes. I mean, it's a good amount of time, and the water's, somewhere in the low 40s. I mean, it's cold. The one thing I'll say is that afterwards, like there's this glow feeling all over your body that lasts for hours after, and it's kind of amazing. So that's what also made me, really.
That's called frostbite. Just kidding.
There are certain areas that definitely suffer more than others. Oh my God.
Hey, I don't really like this that much. Are you sure it's a good idea?
So cool, man. Yeah. So I'm up here in the blizzard. And so yeah, let's, I don't want to overextend the time today, but I guess let's kind of get into it.
Okay.
I had heard about your story some years back, and I definitely wanted to connect with you and and do an interview like this. At the time, I didn't have my podcast ready. It would have been for a book project that hopefully I'll still get to finish one of these days. And so, yeah, I mean, let's kind of, I like to take people on a trip, along the timeline of life. So let's kind of start with, I know you had a background with NASA and what was it? ExxonMobil. So I guess kind of
all kinds of places.
A whole bunch of places. All right. So give me an idea of what kind of work were you doing for these entities?
Computer programmer, and basically I did mostly prototyping. I would set the system up, make sure it works, and then once we get a functional system, then other people would come in and make more efficient modules so they work a little quicker, right? Eventually you want to make sure the process is correct. So for NASA, I worked on the Maximo project. Maximo is a big IBM project, which basically, I called it Skynet because it basically controls everything, kind of like the Terminator movie.
Wow.
It has little sensors or little fingers into every process you have. So the one I worked on basically kept track of all of the equipment at NASA, even the light bulbs, and would record how much energy they're using, whether they're starting to burn out, when they need replaced, and then we would send out notifications to people to say, okay, you have a light bulb that's burning out on the second floor of building A. Go fix it. And their job would be to go fix it.
Wow.
And then if they fix it, they'd report in, and Skynet would actually check to make sure that it had been fixed.
Wow.
And even if they said they fixed it and they didn't, it would know.
They couldn't beat the system.
If you put in there and fixed it and you didn't, it would actually throw an error. So you actually had to fix it before you put in that you fixed it. I don't know why they made them report, because it didn't make any difference because they knew anyway. So, and it would go in, it would check it and say, but that keeps everything functional. I mean,
right.
Not that important, but the other equipment, cooling equipment, heating, everything else, that runs the system, it knew exactly what was going on. So it's very stable.
Kept
us emails and prompt you, and if you didn't respond because you were on vacation, it would where you're supposed to tell it you were on vacation. It actually didn't know that. I guess it didn't have spy cameras in your pocket then.
Oh, okay. It didn't know, and you're okay.
It didn't know you're on vacation because it didn't get the HR thing. But if you didn't respond in a timely manner, it would then go up a list to the next people. So it would go to your boss,
Okay.
his boss, and his boss. Eventually, the Queen of England, if necessary. I doubt it ever got that far.
Wow. So yeah. So it was like a full real-time metrics and alert system, fully integrated across every aspect of all physical things to do with NASA. Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
It reminds me of the Terminator movie. Like, if it took control.
Oh yeah. So good thing that it stopped at vacation. All right. So now, so at what point were you working with at one of these companies when you then were working with the congressman, or
Yes.
Okay, you were. Okay, so
it was everything's a subcontractor. So all the people who work at NASA are generally contractors. There's very few government employees left. They killed them all off many moons ago. And so basically they give you these tasks and you complete the task and you move on. So I did that one. I did the document management system for Florida, all of Florida. We did a complete rollout so that we have all the documents and people can find them by putting in indexes and all that sort of thing. Did migrations of existing systems.
Wow.
Set up the FDLP program to track where police should concentrate their efforts based on the kind of crime, the number of crime, all the data available. And then how many people to put in the right place. So, and then of course, Mr. Feeney came in and he wanted to have a program that basically it was a voting touchscreen, and you could go up to the touchscreen and touch it in certain hidden spots, and then decide which person was going to win the election, which is actually very easy to do. Some people think that sounds hard and that sounds impossible. It's not. It's really easy. It's to write the interface, it takes a few lines of code, probably 300. To flip an election, it took 24. 24 lines of code does it. Because all you're doing is you're checking the numbers, you're making the person they selected win the thing. I did 5149. It could be variable, but I just had a fixed one because I prototyped, right? 5149 would be the winner. And then you just go back and change all the logs and you're done. So it's really pretty simple.
Wow. So, all right. So let's lay this out. So the gentleman was congressman. He was at the time was a congressman. Congressman.
At the time he was Speaker of the Florida House.
Okay.
He was the running mate for Jeb Bush the first time he ran.
Oh, interesting.
And he was, at the end of his term, he was going to be term limited out, and he was going to become the congressman in a district he built for himself. So,
got you. He built for himself and was going to win for himself.
Well, if you the state legislature controls the, I would say division by gerrymandering is probably a better way to say it, because they pick who their electors are and they draw around them so they can make sure they have enough votes to actually win. Because a certain percentage, and you've got it. People tend to vote party and they don't really pay attention to what's going on.
Right.
So if you have enough in that particular party, you can win. So if you draw your own district, and he drew himself a +9, which means he had 9% more Republicans basically than Democrats. So you're going to win. So he drew his own district and then he ran for it. So,
wow,
good gig if you can get it, huh?
Yeah, yes, not bad. So he comes to you and he says, what, how did he, what was the request, the initial?
We had this meeting because, the heads of the companies were there. And basically he requested a prototype of a voting machine where the votes could be flipped. My assumption is he was trying to stop it because there weren't any electronic voting machines at the time. They haven't been rolled out yet. This is around 2000. So I thought my process was, well, I'll write it and show what it does, which should be enough to shock people, because it doesn't matter what the vote is, you can flip it to whatever you want it to be. So
right.
one guy could be winning 10-1, and I can make the guy who's won
10-1 the other way. Yeah.
Suddenly it's 60-40, it's done, right? So it's just done, and there's no way to track it. So the only way to track it, and I wrote it at the time, the only way to track it is to get the voting away from the programmer, because the programmer controls that universe. He is the god of that universe. And there's nothing you can do, no matter how much you want to catch him, to see what's going on inside that computer. Whatever he makes happen, happens.
Right.
And you can be standing there watching it, and you will never see it.
Yeah, that's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, the computer happens in the blink of an eye.
Right.
And you're not sitting there watching the database structure.
Right. They're backdoors, back channels that are being used and so on. Yeah, no one can see you. Totally under the radar.
So I handed it in, and I handed it in to the owner, and she said, well, this isn't really for stopping elections. It's for flipping the election, specifically down in West Palm Beach, is what she named.
That was the district?
Well, that's crazy. Yeah.
Wow, it was West Palm. Okay.
West Palm. That was the one that they were targeting to flip, or the one she thought they were targeting to flip. Because, it's all multi-layered conversations that I wasn't in on.
Right.
Her opinion would be that's the one that she remembered. So that's the one they were trying to flip. So I said, well, first of all, it's crazy. Because in order to use this machine, you have to have the other party agree to it. They're going to have to agree to let you put in a machine that you have control over programming. No one's that stupid.
Yeah, no one's going to do that.
No one's going to do that. That's just stupid.
So
but they did, as you all know.
So
they doubled down on it 50 times since then.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, so your thinking was, okay, they want to do this to kind of work out how to prevent this from happening. Right. Okay.
Which basically means don't use it in the first place. That's the first time. And so the solution for it is to separate it. So you have to have a handwritten paper ballot that you hand count, probably at the precinct level, because that makes it much more manageable. And then that becomes the record. If you want to scan it to give quick results or something, that's fine, because they're just presumptive results. And the scanners will have to match if they know you're going to check them. Right now, the scanners don't have to match because you never check them. In Florida, it's actually illegal to hand count the paper ballots.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And not just Florida, everywhere. In fact, the supervisor of elections and anyone that touches the machine is by contract outlawed from actually testing the machine any way other than the manufacturer lets you test it. So essentially, I will tell you if it's working, I will tell you if it's right, and I will give you the results, and you will believe me.
Oh my God. Right. Oh my God. I mean, I knew this is the case. It's great to have this level of confirmation. I mean, that's what so my position with this has always been, if we had a vote where you've got an auditorium, you've got one table in the middle of the auditorium, you've got cameras all around, line of people outside, they come in one by one, they write on a piece of paper, they drop it in the box, and when everyone's done, they lock the doors, the cameras are still rolling, the public can watch this, and it gets counted on camera. That I will trust. Anything outside of that, I don't believe it.
Well, mail-in ballots are okay because you can actually validate a signature, which is easier to validate a signature than to validate a person. Because I can come in and say I'm you. And I can present ID that I can say I'm you, right?
Right.
But I probably can't sign your name properly.
But does this, so you're saying the mail-in ballot, the system knows the person's signature?
Yes, they actually have to compare the signature to a signature that's on file.
Gotcha.
If it doesn't match, and sometimes they don't match, sometimes people decide to change the names, write it differently. When you're 17 and you're a girl and you thought it looked really good to have a heart over the eye,
right.
You don't think that one's going to go, right? You change the signature. So if it changes, the supervisor of elections in most counties will actually call the person or email them and say, we need to come in and validate a signature. So they usually come in, they sign a new signature card, they compare that, and then you do have the validation issue where they could come in with fake IDs, but they aren't. That never really happens. That's a lot of effort for one vote because there's, 200,000 million votes, I mean 200 million votes.
I know, right? Yeah, that's the thing. How do you?
One person cheating doesn't make a lot of difference,
Right.
and a ton of people aren't going to do it. So generally, it doesn't matter. But so that'll work. You know, the mail-in's okay as long as you validate them. Now you got to validate them. England had an issue where they had a mail-in ballot. They don't use them much anymore because of this. But it's a little nothing race, like a little city race or something that no one really cared about.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got a bunch of mail-in ballots. They sent them out to people. But a lot of people in city votes, they don't vote on those. City elections, who cares, right? So most people don't bother. And so they could go through the database and see who votes in and who doesn't. Well, somebody who really wanted to win went around and grabbed the ballots out of the boxes of the people that don't usually vote. And then sent it to them.
Wow.
Yeah, got in trouble because a couple of people decided they did want to vote for some strange reason, even though they'd never voted in the city race before.
And then they decided to vote, and they were told their votes are already cast.
Yeah, and they're going, that's weird. So they start looking over. You know, they've got stuff going on. Because, you know, they don't do a lot of scrutiny in a nothing race because who's going to cheat?
Right.
You know, it's like if you ever been to a club and someone wants someone to be secretary, and nobody wants to be secretary because that's the hardest work in the club. And no one...
Right. So they're just like, all right, take it. Yeah.
Like, oh. So, you know, England went through that and they got rid of it. So they don't do machines anymore. They don't, you know, they basically got rid of that. Germany got rid of most of the countries after I did the testimony, because, you know, once I found out it was actually used, and I don't know it was used because I don't have, you know, when you're a prototyper, you hand in your prototype. Someone else finishes the code. Someone else installs it on the machine. Someone else puts it out for actual use. You're never going to know that your code was ever really used anyway because you don't have that flow.
Especially code for this particular purpose. No, you would never be told, hey, by the way, we.
But oddly enough, in the election for 2004 for Kerry, he started losing in states that he was projected to win.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back when they could do polling. The polling suffers now because people don't answer their phone. Everybody has a cell phone, so it's really hard to do accurate polling. So
right, keeping up with numbers.
Back then it wasn't. Right, everybody still had landlines. Everybody still did their thing. So it was all off, and the margin was surprisingly 51-49 all the way through. And it's like, that's crazy. Why would they do that? So I went and I testified before Congress and I told them. And they acted like they're going to do something, but they didn't. No one's done anything. And now in, you know, almost 20 years later, we're still having the same issue.
Wow.
We have Trump complaining that the machines cannot be trusted. Well, they can't.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's one of the very few things.
He's complaining too late. You can't complain after the pig's already left the farm. You know, it's too late to go, I want my pig back.
Right.
It's too late. They should try and fix it. And they did a hand count in Georgia. So everybody goes, oh, it's fine. We hand counted Georgia. Well, they didn't. Because Georgia has a special little machine that doesn't take a hand counted paper ballot. So you do a machine entry and it prints a ballot. So it's kind of a fake paper ballot.
That is, yeah.
They're all going to be the same. You can shift them, you can move them, you can do anything with them. Because there is no validity to it anymore. Because it's still in the computer programmer's universe.
Wow.
You let me print that ballot, I can print anything I want.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And most people will not check it. So I could probably print it while they're standing there. But I don't have to. I could have it pre-printed before and mix them together and they still wouldn't know. Because they all look the same. There is no circling. There's nothing to give you any sort of validity that, you know, it was done by a human or that, you know, anyone thought about it.
Wow.
So you not only don't have a actual count in Georgia, you can never get actual count in Georgia. Which is what people don't understand with these machines is that once it's over, it's over. There is nothing forensic you can come back and look at. It's gone, unless the programmer's an idiot.
Right. That's like leaving.
Going to be.
Right. Right. It's like leaving, leaving your passport inside a house that you just robbed. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And especially since anything the computer does, the programmer has to make it do it. Everybody goes, oh, look at the logs. There are no logs. That is a fake. If there's a log, the programmer had to write it.
Right. It's a fake log.
The computer doesn't care. You know, its job is to flip little binary switches.
So then, almost every, let's say, mid level and up election can be questioned or questionable, or
Every election could be questionable.
exactly, and that's been my position for quite some time. And yeah, like you say, Trump coming in really late on this, it tells me, it doesn't tell me that like he's just learning this now or just has an idea about it now. It tells me that he's just complaining because he was affected.
Right. It's a loser complaint.
It's the loser complaint, right?
I'm lost, so I care.
Right.
People
Right.
for forever. Forever. And fixing it is so simple.
Right.
And so much cheaper. It's
Right.
a lot cheaper not to have all this technology to layer things to protect people from actually seeing how the vote goes.
Right.
The more you try and insulate the public, the more opportunity there is to cheat because the public can't see it. And with computer voting, the public can't see it. It's gone. Now you could have other issues. You could have a tabulator issue. If people did the hand count and they put in the ballots and you did that in secret, then the tabulator could make up the count at the end. But if you don't do it in secret, if you go, this precinct had 50 votes for Trump and 59 votes for Biden and 27 votes for Fred, and everybody knows it, it's all on camera, it's all on film. In fact, I would have the counting be on camera.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Exactly.
I want it like this. Show me.
That's my ballot. If it has marks, because they're afraid of doing the whole secret ballot. If it has a mark, then you don't show it. You put it over, and you do that in a separate canvassing thing where the mark can be blanked out, and then you hold it up. But you have people from both parties to actually sit there and go, okay, that's legitimate. Hand it over to me. They can ballot.
Right.
There's going to be very few, if in fact no one can see it until after it's been cured.
Exactly. We've got cameras, in the Senate. We've got cameras in the House. Why do we not have cameras on these ballots? It just doesn't make any sense. Something's definitely rotten in the state of America.
One of Trump's complaints is that his people are not allowed to see the ballots being counted, which I think that's a valid complaint. But that's also been true for 20 years.
And we're not allowed to see his tax records.
I don't think that's in voting, though. I think you're going to end up seeing those tax records.
But he's definitely there going, hurry up, fix it, hurry up, change that, hurry up, fix that, hurry up. Here.
A supplemental, but maybe not, wouldn't hurt to try. Got the money left to do it.
Yeah.
Right. But if we had it so that, the people could actually see the ballots by holding it up, because obviously you don't want 12 people with their head on your shoulder while you're doing the count.
Right.
So we have cameras, they could do it.
Right.
Camera
here.
For the last 20 years, if you went to watch the ballot counting process, you would stand 30 feet away, sometimes behind a glass wall, and you would see them iron it and stick it in a machine. That is your observation of counting, which is maybe feel good.
Right.
You're not doing anything.
It still means something. Right.
You're making sure they're not pulling out of their pocket and putting it in, but other than that, and the odds of that happening are going to be pretty small.
Right. At that point, all you're getting is a count of how many. That's all you're getting.
Right.
How many? You're
observing some process, but but they've known this for years. In fact, all of the processes they're complaining about, where people call people to cure their ballots, or they put in their city, but they don't put in the state, and the supervisor puts in the state form. All the stuff they're complaining about has been going on for decades.
For decades.
And in fact, they never complained when they were the winner, only when they're the loser.
Right, right. So if that doesn't say something, if that doesn't speak volumes to the fact that these people know what they're doing, I mean, they know what they're doing. It's not, you know, there's no room for conjecture or hearsay or argument or questioning or let's really try and get to the bottom of this. We're at the bottom of this.
You know what the bottom problem is.
You know what the problem is.
We always have. We just
right.
change it. Other countries, in 2000 and what would that be? 2016. Denmark was having the same issue. Russia had penetrated their voting systems. They're poking them. Now they don't know what was being flipped. They don't know, but they did know that they had these, you know, these Russian addresses that were actually inside and shouldn't have been. Which apparently Russia's good at this because now they're back at it again. But and that in Denmark, and Denmark gave me a call and said, "What do we do to make sure that our machines are counting correctly?" And being a bit of a smart aleck, I said, "Well, you take them and you throw them in the ocean. You count it by hand."
Right.
This is 2 months out. So in other words, I would tell them there's nothing they can do. They're screwed.
Right.
What Denmark did was they passed legislation immediately not to use the machine, to just throw them away.
Right before the vote.
Right before the vote, right.
Wow.
2 months before the vote.
Wow.
And count everything by hand. And they had bipartisan support because everybody goes, well, no one can cheat. Not a problem, right? And what happened? The Trump guy got creamed. Everything's fine. They're not machines anymore. Because machines can improve your life, but they can also mess you up. And
yes, absolutely.
To verify something, and you can't once you use a machine, then you're pretty much toast. So we just can't use them. It'd be nice if we could. It'd be nice if we could trust everybody. That's
wow.
Not the planet we live on.
yeah, it's not, and definitely not in the realms that we're speaking of. You know, politics and the financial sector, and you know these same tendrils of control and corruption really kind of spread out into all of the major areas of industry, commerce, and things going on, not just in the U.S. but planet-wide.
Right. And what's worse is it isn't even just us. Because once you have a machine, if you get somebody on the inside that can fix it, no one's going to know what happened. You can have a company that's perfectly legit, and they get somebody on the inside to insert 20 lines of code that will never be found, by the way. Never. They can control it, and that's just the way it is. And it doesn't, you know, it could be the Russians, it could be the Germans, it could be anybody, Chinese, whoever hacked best that day.
Right.
Somebody penetrated, they're in, and it's done. And
or even who got paid to hack
exactly
the best that day.
Exactly.
And that could still be coming from right here at home.
In fact, when I started telling my story, I got an offer of $1 million just to shut up and go away.
This is what I wanted to ask you. Yes, tell me. Yes. So, wow. Who made the offer?
Company said, we need you back. You're very valuable. So, you know.
Who made the $1 million offer?
$1,000 a year for 5 years, and you don't even have to show up. So I said, no. Which I don't know if it's a deal. Yeah, probably was. Anyway, I said no. But I mean, there's a lot of money there because the winner of these races have massive control. So there's a lot of money that they're talking about, and it's policy. You know, let's say the Russians hacked. See, this is my thing with Trump. I don't know if Trump did it, if the Russians did it, but I think Trump believes the Russians helped him win, whether they did or not.
Right.
Because that's the problem. You don't know. You have no idea what the actual reality is. But he does know that they could have. And if they told him they did have, and that they can report it and make it bad for him, now he's being blackmailed maybe on a nothing. They may have done nothing,
Right.
nothing
Right.
but he's always acted like he's under their thumb. And that becomes another problem, is that the people who do the hacking may not even do it with approval, but they still control the game. And so they
Right.
can change the way policy works. They could, essentially destroy NATO, which almost happened. We're really close to having a NATO that was destroyed, that there's no cohesion anymore. So
Right.
that was a short-term glitch. It's coming back now. But
Wow.
so there's so many implications as to why this is important. This isn't just, who's going to be standing in an office for 4 years. This is a really big deal. And not just on the presidential election, even on a commission seat in a county. They control and hand out who gets millions, if not billions, of dollars.
Right.
So they control winners and losers.
Right. And then judgeships too, judge appointments.
Judge appointments? Judge appointments more of a legislative agenda, though. That's not going to put money in your pocket right away.
No, it won't put money. It won't put money. But yes, but coming back to the laws and legislative, yeah,
right.
Still a control factor.
But it controls pretty much everything. So it's very important that we do it right, and not just that we do it right, but that everybody knows it's right.
Yes. What?
From the hardest lefty to the rightest righty, everybody will be able to accept the terms if they know they're not being cheated.
Right. Why you would think that when dealing with a government whose foundational purpose is to serve the people, then transparency should not be such a foreign, alien, nebulous, non-existent thing.
Crazy. Well, the whole testing thing too. The testing thing, some people were believing that things were actually being tested. And so, okay, well, maybe it's being tested, so it's valid. Some people believe that early. I knew it was garbage. I'm a programmer. I know that stuff. I just didn't have. But then the Volkswagen scandal came out. Are you aware of that one?
Yes. I do know about the big Volkswagen. Yes, there's.
Shows how much testing is useless. Because with Volkswagen put out a bunch of diesel cars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now diesel cars get good mileage, but if you put a lot of pollution controls on them, because diesel's a dirty fuel,
that's right,
then you can still get the mileage, but your responsiveness goes to nothing. It's horrible, it's just horrible. So it's like Mercedes they had out there, they barely can get up to speed. Anyway, so
I remember now that you just started, it came back to me. But yeah, go ahead.
Everybody was suffering. All the diesel industry was suffering really bad because everybody's diesel cars were performing poorly, except for Volkswagen. Volkswagen performed like a jackrabbit, and yet when you put them on and tested them, they were actually on the low side of emissions.
That's right.
They weren't even near the top. They were on the low side. Everybody, this is a great car. I don't know what you've done, but it's a great car. So,
right.
You plug it in, it's right. Plug it in, it's right. Take it out, it runs like a champ. Okay. So a bunch of college students, I think out in California, decided they were going to test it too to find out why this engine was so much better than any other. Except they didn't do it according to the way you test them. They didn't drive it in and hook it on the machine because they didn't have that big expensive machine. So they took it out and drove it, and they stuck a collector on the back as they're driving along. And lo and behold, it was polluting 40 times more.
Terribly, yeah. It was just off the charts.
Than what was allowed.
Right.
Obviously, they just got a bad one, right?
Right, yeah, until it replicated many times.
Sure enough,
yep.
40 times more. They took it in to have it tested. It was perfect. That's amazing. It all came out that Volkswagen had fixed the car to know when it was being tested.
Right.
Because when you went in and you plugged it in, and it was sitting in a stationary position,
it was the best emissions car on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It drove completely different. With a few electronic switches, and it polluted 40 times. A lot of people got in trouble. A lot of people went to jail. You know, they had to recall
many cars. It was a ton.
millions,
Yeah, it was
millions
a ton of vehicles.
because it was a great seller. It was a great car.
Yeah.
You know, mileage, great performance.
Yep. I remember seeing they had, it was like almost like a graveyard, you know, big giant lot, massive lot with all these cars that were just never going to do anything now.
Right. They couldn't fix them.
Yeah.
Because the engines they put in them could not be fixed to run effectively. In fact, one person put it on the machine to fake in the machine and tried to drive it, couldn't even drive around town. So bad that it would not run.
It wouldn't even go.
It wouldn't even go anywhere. It was just, but it ran great on the testing machine itself when you were doing it. And the same thing happens with, you know, voting machine. You're not allowed to test them outside the parameters because you will catch them. And in effect, every time they do these recounts, you kind of have to wonder why the numbers are never the same. They're never the same.
Right.
If it's counting correctly, it should always be the same.
That's right.
You know, and if there's collaborations because of a bad paper you're scanning, maybe. But, you know, every time you have a recount, it goes up 1,000 votes here, down 500 votes. Well, how can that be?
Right. Or 10, 20,000. It makes no sense.
These are computers.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Counting correctly, it should count correctly.
That's right.
Everything. And it doesn't, except in small batches. When you're testing, you do small batches for testing, always counts correctly. Never right. That alone should make you go,
Yeah, Yeah, that's that old, that was Arsenio Hall. Things that make you go,
Exactly. But it's easy to get rid of. All you have to say, we're going to count it by hand. This is a presumptive vote. Don't hang your hat on it. We're going to count this by hand and tell you what the real vote is. And the presumptive vote is just that. It's presumptive. This is going to be counted by hand. It's going to be videotaped. You'll be able to look at it if you want to sit there and watch 150 million votes.
You're welcome to do that. Right, exactly. Yeah. And you will. You'll have people that it's like 3 in the morning and they're slumped over in their couch still trying to watch one eye.
Yeah, going, check. Okay,
check. All right.
Give me more. Got him.
And I know that as as a citizen, as just a person who's going to cast their vote. I mean, if you're trying to get a look at the machine, or if you want to ask about and look at the hardware or just see how it operates, there's no such thing. If you touch it, if you look at it funny, I mean, they grab you and you're out. I mean, it's like you could be facing 15, 20 years in jail for trying to understand this voting machine. Understand
what you paid for to record your vote accurately.
Yes.
Not a little side comment here. Okay, Diebold. Diebold was the company that was heavily involved with the voting machine issue way back when I was on it. They've since sold out to these other companies, Dominion and all these guys. So, but when they sold out, they had this whole warehouse full of machines that they hadn't sold. So people were going to bid on those machines. I want to buy that machine. Some people were going to pay full price for them, right?
Yeah.
They would not sell them. They not only took them apart, they then shredded them.
Oh my God. Right. You got to destroy the evidence.
And they're shredding it.
Oh my God.
So you're shredding a hard drive.
The evidence.
You know what a hard drive shredder looks like, right? I mean, it's a fairly hefty piece of machinery because it's having to.
It's got to crunch all kind of things, right?
Chop it up and compacted metal pieces.
Oh my God! To make sure no one can ever put that back together again, so they might not get the slightest inkling of anything that was.
Exactly. No one can ever find out. Doesn't have to be guilty because we can't be proven guilty if they don't touch it.
Right. So. Actually, I have never seen a hard drive shredder. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, we use it in NASA all the time.
That makes sense.
You have this security protocol. When you redo a hard drive, you actually overwrite it so many times.
I was about to say, how many times? Right.
So you overwrite it 1,000 times. Generally, what you do is first you delete it, but deletion doesn't delete anything.
Right.
there's a little table there, and it deletes a table. Big deal. You can't put
Right.
that back. Okay. So then you have to go through and you have to refill it completely full with a named file. You know, like you say, Fred, and then Fred 1, Fred 2, Fred 3. So it has all these garbage files in it. Okay. That will overwrite it to clean. Then you go through and you do that about 1,000 times. So all the things have been mixed. Then you take out a machine and you put it in this, it's usually a container about yay big, and you drop it inside, and it's got all these big blades, pretty heavy duty material, because it's like a lawnmower in there. And basically it chomps in little bitty chunks.
That's, I mean, and this is what they did with these voting machines. I mean, you know, and so out of curiosity then, who, you said Dominion, who took over Diebold?
Diebold, I think they sold to either Dominion or Sequoia. But they changed hands, but it's just changed names more than anything else.
And these are still entities that make voting machines still, or what?
Right. The big one down in question in Georgia is made by Dominion. I think they're owned by a company. Most of them are not owned by. This is another odd thing. They're not owned by American companies.
Ha! Get out of here. Hold on a minute. Wait, pause, stop, slow down, hold the camera, bring it. Let's bring that back.
Not even technically here, which protects them from further investigation.
Wow.
Because they're not here.
So is it...
Trump was up there saying, Chavez was involved with voting machines?
Right.
He was been dead for 7 years.
Yes.
Because he's dead for 7 years. But essentially, Dominion is owned by a Venezuelan company, where Chavez was president 7 years ago. So, since the only bad guy they could think on was Chavez, they said, oh, he owns the machine. Well, he's dead. He owns nothing. Dominion didn't exist when he was alive. But it is still owned by a company that is not from the United States.
Wow.
So they don't have any loyalty to the United States.
And that's not only Dominion, you're saying, all of the majors.
Yeah, all the majors. I think Sequoia is Canadian, could be French. ES&S. I don't know who owns ESS now. They change hands. They change people.
Wow. So yeah, the layers to this are really multifaceted and kind of deep.
Right. You're not kidding. But the key is we don't need to. If we don't use them,
right. Yeah. If we change the system,
a product to some degree to scan the initial presumptive ballot, although they're going to have to actually fix them to work, because we can't have, if we scan them and it says Fred won and then we do the hand count, find out Fred didn't win, well, they're pretty much toast. They're not going to be selling voting machines anymore because it's too high profile. We're going to have to make sure it actually works then, or this rolls out.
So I think if we had to narrow in on what would actually cause or be the impetus for any real reconfiguration of this system, of our voting system, tell me if you think otherwise, but I think at the end of the day, all of this, and not just the issue of voting machines and voting outcomes, but a lot of the issues that we have here at home or in any country, it really is going to come down to the people, and the action or inaction of the people is what's going to decide whether or not these corrupt systems continue to kind of have a stranglehold on our entire world, actually.
Correct. Although, not a big Trump fan here, but the fact that he has at least got the Republicans churning about it, maybe they'll grow a brain, because, you may have invented the atom bomb, but that doesn't mean you're the only one who has it.
That's right.
use it. The fact that a Republican requested this machine, the machine they requested can be controlled by anyone.
That's right.
So they put themselves way out there. So, they may have lost control of what they want to do it with, especially when you now have international companies, voting companies owned by international companies that are interested. You have a big problem. So maybe they will wise up and say, let's not do it that way anymore.
Yeah, I think it's and this is why I really wanted to bring all of this bring the story into the present again. I think it's about time that Americans kind of allow their perception to be broken on this two-party system, not just trusting the system, but in this two-party left-right, everyone's at odds, and Trump kind of it's definitely a great thing what he's doing in terms of putting these things into question.
For the wrong reason, though.
Right. Right, but it's gonna huh?
He's doing it from the loser perspective.
He's doing it from the loser perspective, and but it's I'm happy about it because this is all gonna really illuminate the truth that both sides have been equal party to the corruption, in these institutions. And so that's the paradigm that we really need to shatter, this whole two-party nonsense. Everyone's got to wake up, and we have to just start to figure out what's good for all of us. What are the basic things that aspects of life that we can agree on, and let's make those work. And
just be Americans again?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Novel idea.
I mean, there were civilizations that were operating here thousands of years before our modern civilization, was put together and built up, and they were doing just fine, and they didn't have all these issues that we're having now. So yeah, it's definitely on the people. So anyone who's listening and watching, I mean, if you haven't gotten a good sense now that it's not just this election, it's not just one side, and I mean, you're listening to the layers of the layers of how this is all hidden and how it's constructed, please, this should be a call to action. Let's get out with the old, in with the new. Let's reconstruct. I mean, this is our Second Amendment. I mean, obviously, if we don't have to do it, going guns blazing and taking the place down, we don't have to, but that's on us. It's all on us. Everything is a choice, and what collective choice or choices that we want to make together, and that's how simple it is to change something. I mean, when a person who's a 30-40 year smoker decides to quit cold turkey, I mean, that's the kind of changes that we need to start having collectively. They need to be instant. We can't keep taking forever to make changes that are obvious. So yeah, just wanted to.
Well, maybe now we have both sides involved, but all they really have to do is call the people that are representing them, because they have no interest in really changing things. Why should they? They won, so it must be perfect, right? It's only when you lose that you go, now wait, that doesn't seem right. When you win, it's like, I'm not even going to look.
Right.
Call them and tell them to get their act together and to work on this problem, because it's not really hard to solve. It's the easiest solution. It's what we used to do before we decided to,
get fancy.
Let this mess in here. Right.
Right.
Fancy. And in my opinion, considering the fact that they were looking for this prototype before the machines rolled out, that the fancy they put in was designed to cheat in the first place.
Right. That was the whole purpose of fancy, right?
Never designed to be fancy. It was designed to, well, let's make it look fancy, and then we'll take advantage of it.
Now I'm starting to wonder if Vegas is tied into this as well.
I don't know programmers. You think they would have written a prototype themselves?
Oh my God. Well, actually, now that does actually question, because they could have easily, any of the they behind Vegas could easily be running these scripts on certain things as well.
Sure. Well, Vegas does. They admit that.
Yeah.
You go to their machines that they produce, they have a preset number that the house will win a certain amount. So when you go and you put your money in the machine, you have to know ahead of time that you may win because 12 guys in front of you lost.
Right.
But the house will always get its cut.
That's right.
It's already wired into the programming.
That's right. That's the same thing here.
It's wired in the programming.
Right. You can take your trip to the voting pod and you can hit a button and you can have that fun, but who we want is who we're going to get.
Right. Exactly. And that's the way it can be. It doesn't have to be.
Right. It doesn't have to be. Right. It doesn't have to be.
Right. If they didn't have the electronic machines, if they had the old roulette wheel with the ball,
right.
There's no brake behind it or anything to make it stop.
No magnets.
No magnets, no anything funky going on. If they had a true old-fashioned, from the 1800s roulette wheel, you'd have much better odds of winning.
Yes.
Than on the modern.
That's right. That's right.
You will have a set amount, and they will admit that. They admit that they're programmed that way.
Yeah, that's why I really can never do casinos that are all electronic. I don't. Never.
You want a fair chance, huh?
I want a fairer, at least.
Because odds you lose anyway.
Right.
Odds aren't programmed in and hard coded, so that
exactly.
Know that 65% of the people are going to lose, and then you got winners, and so the house gets its cut.
So earlier you had said, and I just didn't get clearly who offered you the $1 million to go away.
It's well, I'm not sure where the money was coming from, but it was the company I worked
for. Which at the time was
Yang Enterprises.
Oh, Yang. Okay, Yang Enterprise. Does Yang Enterprises has nothing to do with a Yang that recently was okay.
No different.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's actually a Chinese company. They do. Mm-hmm. They still do a lot of government contracts. I don't know if they're involved with Feeney anymore or not. I have no idea.
What kind of work do they do, or what kind of company is it?
Computer programming. They do base security.
Wow.
I think they have maintenance contracts.
Okay. All government stuff.
All government stuff.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of government.
And did you get any kind of threats? Did any threats?
I got a few, threats, but you always do, and you don't know where those actually come from.
In what forms did they come?
I had an email from a fellow I work with that said, they know what I'm doing, and I have to watch out, and all that sort of thing. And, but I ignore that stuff.
Okay.
A lot of people get really excited about people who email you, they're going to kill you.
Yeah, right.
If they've taken the time to email you, they're going to kill you. They're probably not going to kill you.
Right. They're most likely not going to kill you. Yeah.
Not a James Bond movie. They're not going to.
Right.
Yes, they're coming. So that, or you get people making telephone calls or they're death threat telephone calls. In my opinion, if they took the time to make a telephone call, they're not really coming.
Right.
But
no rocks through a window or any kind of fit.
I did have a lot of incidents. I had a pet that was poisoned. I had
oh my God.
I had a lot of things. That's why I wrote the book.
Holy shit!
I started getting these things. I wrote a book about all this and got it out there. After I got my book out there, it all stopped. Nothing else. Never anything. It stopped.
Right.
So anyone who is a whistleblower that is afraid, I suggest they put every item they have out there in the public. Write a book, do an essay, just publish it on the internet.
Make it public, right. Make it public.
Once your information's out there, there is no value to bothering you anymore. In fact, it just supports your process. So
wow. So
you want to tell on the government, come to me. I'm a government.
Yes.
on a regular basis now.
Yeah, that's actually it's a very important thing to know, and I will also put links to your practice and stuff, and yeah.
It kind of convinced me that the government needs to have eye kept on it, because it will just do anything it wants to do.
That's right. That's right.
And people go, okay.
Right. People don't even pay attention. They just hand over their lives to these people who are career criminals and career frauds and like professional liars.
Exactly. And they complain about their taxes being too high, but they don't pay attention. These guys are just throwing millions away.
Yes. Yes.
Throw
them away, and they have all these ways they funnel them into projects that never happen, and monies get funneled around, and all kind of things going on
right now, where they took money and funneled it into their buddies, and then froze out all the other businesses that were going to compete with them.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't, and they don't hold them accountable.
That's really a shame, man.
Administration will hold people accountable.
Yeah, that it would be great if that happened. I didn't catch that.
But if they hold people accountable in government, though, we may have to build new prisons.
Well, we could let out a bunch of nonviolent people and throw these guys in. Yeah, absolutely. Not just them. We also need a lot of people from the pharmaceutical industry that need to be thrown in holes as well.
At minimum, they should get rid of the people that are there and fill the positions with somebody a little more honest.
Yes, at least, right? At least the minimum. That's at extreme least. That's crazy though. I didn't know that you had a pet poisoned. There was a dog or a cat, or it was a dog or a cat that was poisoned.
A dog.
Your dog. Man, that's terrible. That's terrible. And there was no. Do you know how?
Too, because the day that I testified before before Congress about the whole event, my German Shepherd got shot.
Shot.
They shot him. Yeah, I had one poison and another one shot.
Damn.
And they shot him in the back. What's with that?
That's crazy.
Yep.
Wow. And there was no, I assume this was a time you didn't have like cameras around or anything. So there was no.
Back in 2000. So, you know.
Yeah. Much earlier days of security.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
I had security. It was a German Shepherd.
Right. Oh my God. That's terrible. I'm sorry. They did this in daytime, nighttime? How did?
Well, I was out of town. I was in D.C. to testify. So when my wife got home, she called me and told me about it. So it would have been, they would have to do it during the day.
That's crazy. And the neighbors?
But no one's going to do anything, you know, with a dog getting shot. It's not going to happen. So.
Did any neighbors report hearing the shot, or was it like silenced?
Well, I had quite a few acres, so it would have been
okay. Got you.
I was out in the sticks.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow.
I like the country, but you don't have a lot of people around you either. So, you know, it has ups and downs.
Right. Exactly. Oh man, I can't. That's crazy.
That was the way to do it, don't you think? Going after the pet.
Yeah, really, truly is. Yeah, that really is. Like that just makes me even more mad. I kind of want to get someone, you know, hold someone accountable for that.
Yeah. And of course, your liability. Well, you're in the country. Someone could have been hunting. Yeah, you know, you never know. So.
Right. And the bullet just went around and from out in the hunting world and found the dog. I mean, come on. Yeah.
Around all those trees. Who knows?
Man.
But anyway, you don't want to get too caught up in retaliation to not actually work on the problem. So
right.
The problem is the key, and the solution is what we have to come to.
So, just so that for anyone who's listening or watching, what is the title of your book?
I looked at thousands of years ago. Justify on the Wall.
Justifiable Law?
Just a fly on the wall.
Oh, just a fly on the wall. That's funny. It sounds exactly like justifiable law. That's which also works.
Put all the symbols together, right? Syllables together, right? And it can out, can it?
It's a match. Yeah, look at that. Just a fly on the wall. Okay, and
Sophisticated title. So.
I like that. No, and that you published that in what year?
2002, 3, 4, something like that.
Okay, 2002, 3, 4. And so so recapping the election, well, the time period that we're talking about with Congressman Tom Feeney was in the year 2000. And from everything you've said, it sounds like your script has been used several times over in a number of places.
You change the numbers though.
Right.
I mean, the numbers are there for a reason. The numbers are 2 apart. The reason you have 2 apart, one, you have the 51-49 thing, so you need at least 2 percentage points to not have a count. So by 3, you have enough outside. And on my particular system, because the prototype, it matters to when it hits. So if you went in at the beginning of the election, you would have a different outcome than if you went in the middle or the end, because it would make that flip based on that timestamp. Probably more complicated than you really care about.
No, yeah, please.
It adjusts itself down, but it still stays within that 2-3% margin, which avoids an automatic hand count, which is what they used to have. Now they don't have an automatic hand count; they have an automatic recount, which means they count the same thing over again.
So, right.
And then the automatic hand count they have in Georgia isn't really counting anything. It's counting ballots that are produced by the machine that you're wanting to check, because there are no real ballots left. And they're going to be using that in the Senate race.
That's coming up.
Yeah. So they're going to be using the same machine in the Senate.
Owned by those same foreign entities.
Yes, owned by the same foreign entity.
And I mean, has anyone traced the ownership of those foreign entities? Like, going up the chain of.
It only goes so far because there's a foreign entity, so it doesn't necessarily have to tell you anything. It doesn't have
right.
to. But even before they were foreign entities, when they were all here, courts would never let you get the source code.
Right.
Source code is considered proprietary, even though source code should only be counting votes. So it shouldn't be that difficult. It should be a simple math equation of Fred got a vote, I'm going to add 1 to his total. John got a vote, I'm going to add 1 to his total.
Right. Simple. It should be simple.
It should be simple. It shouldn't be a proprietary problem.
No. Nope.
Not doing much. We shouldn't be doing much.
Right. Right. When it gets proprietary, so right. What are you doing there? What are you doing?
Even if you could get the source code, they don't give you access to machines. You can't blueprint it.
Right.
Because I did a lot of computer programming where I would blueprint systems, because, like a government entity would hire a private company, they would produce a source code and the program, and then they were supposed to do a technology transfer. We hand it over to the government people to continue to work on and play with. Most times, more than 60%, probably more than 80%, the source code provided by the company was never the right source code. Poor suckers working for the government, if they had to go back and try and fix something, they were always going to be confused because it wouldn't work the same.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the company to fix it, right? Because these guys aren't smart enough. Well, they can't be smart enough because they're starting at the wrong spot.
Right.
And this is government, but also private. Private industry, big companies did the same thing. They don't get the right source code. The only way to check to see that what is on the machine is what the source code is if you take the source code, you compile it yourself, and then you do a binary compare of that executable versus the executable on the machine. And that is a level that most people don't know how to do, and they don't do it. But if they do, they'll quickly find out that this is not this.
Right.
You don't necessarily know what the changes are, because binary won't tell you that. But you will know it's not the same. And then you can go back and go, gave me the wrong stuff.
Right.
And I've
Like,
heard all stupid excuses like, well, we use a special compiler. Well, fine,
right.
use a special compiler,
Right. Right. Yeah.
and I will see what's in there. And why are you using a special compiler?
Right.
You know,
Right. What is special here? What's special about this?
because that would be part of the contract. It's part of the stuff you'd have to turn over.
Right.
So,
Which they would never do, which by law they don't have to.
you get the right stuff, right? They usually get money back for their trouble and the right stuff. So,
And by law they don't have to hand this stuff over because it's proprietary.
it's the voting machines are proprietary, so they don't have to hand it over. Not even the court case. Not even in a secured site.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So, like, if you have a case of child pornography,
Yeah.
you cannot say, I'm not going to give this to you, the court, to look at because it's too sensitive to the public. Because they'll say, okay, well, give it to me, and the judge will look at it in camera, but that means in chamber, by himself.
Right.
Not a bunch of people around. Judges can't even get the source code. No one can get it. No one can compile it. No one can compare it.
If that doesn't say it all right there.
Don't trust them.
But trust them, right? I mean, if that doesn't say it all.
That are telling you how you voted. And in the case of Georgia, producing the ballots that they're going to recount.
It's like,
so Trump has a point. The election does suck, but it doesn't suck any more than it did when he won.
right. Or anyone else.
Or previous.
Right. Exactly. And so one of the things that I did want us to say earlier that it had slipped my mind, but I got it back now. When you were talking about whistleblowing, and this is a kind of a plea that I've been wanting to make for a while. I remember reading, oh boy, it started about 2 decades ago, that around that time forward, we started to have an explosion of millionaires in the United States. And I remember them saying, we've got more millionaires now than ever before, and more are popping up and popping up. So you've got all these millionaires, and you've got all these, previous millionaires, new millionaires. You've got a lot of people with a lot of money around this country. I feel like how can it not be possible that among these people that do have money, that there's not a population among them that are on these frequencies, that understand things that are going on, or that at the very least want real change, and understand the importance of getting truth out. And I say that because this is a plea to millionaires. Okay, we need to have in place a protective structure for whistleblowers, so that when they want to do what they want to do, they can come to this entity and know that their dogs are not going to be poisoned, their family members are not going to be killed, they're not going to be taken out, all these things. There needs to be some kind of an actual real whistleblower protection system in place, so that people aren't fearful of doing this. Because if there were, I feel like we would get to the bottom of lots of issues and lots of fraud and lots of things that we could fix much faster if people weren't afraid for their lives. And so please, you people out there with money, if you're watching this, and hopefully some of you are, because the election in some way, I hope, affects you and is important to you as well. So, reach out, get in touch with me if this sounds like something that you would want to be a part of. I mean, it's been in my mind for a long time now. I mean, I don't see what more important of an institution that we need to set up right now, and that would be one to protect whistleblowers, so that they can freely come out and say what they need to say, because it's going to be beneficial for all of us, and in our process of reorganizing and rewiring our currently severely fraudulent and effed up system.
That's good, sir. 12:30. I have another appointment, so I'm going to have to jump off of here.
Okay. All right. Well,
I answered everything you needed answered.
Yeah, that was great, Clint. I really appreciate you. I appreciate your time. And you know, as a whistleblower yourself, knowing, I'm sure at the time that you know you there would be some kind of backlash. Um, Thank you very much. I commend you. I honor you, and I'm humbled to be in your presence and to have this conversation with you today. Seriously, because you are the real hero. People like yourself, you know, Snowden, Assange, people that are putting themselves on the line to get the truth out to the people. Those are the real heroes. So I thank you very much for your efforts. I really do.
If it goes anywhere and picks up full steam, then we'll do it again.
Definitely. Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much, Clint. I appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Peace and love. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boy, you heard that. I mean, what more do you need me to say? Everything was said that needed to be said. You heard the man. You know his level of expertise. You understand, you know, what types of companies he's dealt with and works with, and you know, he's still doing law in these realms. He does whistleblower law. He does government corruption law. What a guy! Really great guy. Very, you know, very positive, happy guy. Very easy to talk to, as you saw. You know, and you know, thank you again. Thank you again. I appreciate you. And for everyone watching, I mean, please just wake up. That's the only thing I'm asking you to do. That's all I want you to do is just wake up, wake up, wake up. Please just wake up. Get out, get your head out of the sand. Stop thinking you know everything. Stop thinking that your side is the right one. Just wake up and let's really get some things done. All right. As usual, and as always, I am your host, the wordsmith of the fate.org podcast. It was fate. And once again, it was fate that you are here with me today watching this to get this information. Thank you for coming to it. Thank you for being a part. Please like, share, subscribe, anything you can do to help me and help my channel, my Facebook and different social media, Instagram as well. Is greatly appreciated. I love you all. I thank you for listening. You know, hopefully at some point, you know, I'll be able to make a few bucks from this work that I'm doing. As of right now, I still don't. I guess I should get a Patreon thing going. That's what everybody else does. But I haven't had really enough of a response audience yet, and that's also because I haven't put out enough content yet. So I'm going to continue to put out content, and I'm, you know, putting my own dollars into that content and trying to get it out there to you, while also, you know, trying to get other projects of mine off the ground. Today's episode is brought to you by Cosmic Elements. Cosmic Elements is CBD. Well, not just a CBD, it's a cannabinoid company. They've got CBG and CBD products, Delta 8 products, a number of other things coming out soon. So yeah, check them out. Them being me, I. So these are my projects. I'm trying to really get, you know, have a nice harmony with the projects, because, you know, monies are anything that I make on any of my projects. There will be percentages going to humanitarian projects, whether that be in the realms of, you know, food, water, supplies, emergency response, you know, agricultural needs, different things, both here and abroad. So at least 5%, of everything that I make as profit will be going into other projects, at least 5%. So when and where more can be done, it will be done. So, all right. Thanks again. I appreciate you. Much love. I hope wherever you are, you're having a great, blessed, beautiful day. I hope that your family is well. I hope that you are well. I hope that you are taking the time to properly, self-love and deep dive within and continue to grow and gain wisdom, both through your inner conversations as well as your outer with those in your circle and those you come across on your path and on your journey. And it's a pleasure for me to bring knowledge and information to you. So I'm happy to do this, and thank you very much. All right, peace and love. Have a great, beautiful, wonderful, blessed rest of 2020, and here's to an incredible 2021 after the year that we've had. And let's just go into it. Let's go into the new year with a new perspective, new position, and and just really make the changes that need to be made collectively. You and me, let's go. Let's do this together. All of us, we can do it. All right. Peace. Namaste.